Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Now, before I get started, I want to give you a little insider tip. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my analysis of more than 1,000 scientific studies, and I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to be able to see the research for yourself. And trust me, you are going to want to see the research because some of the things that I'm going to say to you today are going to sound so unbelievable. You're going to think to yourself, how can this possibly be true? And you will want to see proof. So all you have to do is remember 4 words. These 4 words: show me the science, like show me the money. And if you can remember that, you can go to showmethescience.com. And I've actually pulled out 100 of the studies, put them online. They're full articles. You can read them. You can dig in and get geeky if you want. And I happen to know you'll remember these 4 words better if you say them out loud. So on the count of 3, I want you to all shout back at me, show me the science, okay? 1, 2, 3. Show me the science. Okay, you guys are ready. Now let's do this. Okay, so I'm a gamer. And what that means about me is that I like to have goals. So I like to have kind of secret missions and special objectives, and I have a special mission for this talk. And by the way, Cheryl and Ernie are going to look like geniuses for putting the first 3 speakers together because this crazy through line is emerging in our talks. That's because my secret mission for this talk is that I'm going to try to increase the lifespan of everyone in this room by 7.5 minutes. Apparently 72 seconds of that I can't take credit for, but I will increase it by 7.5 minutes. You will live 7.5 minutes longer than you would have otherwise just because you watched this talk. Now, I see despite the previous talk, some of you are still looking a little bit skeptical. That's okay because I have math to prove that it's possible. This is the math. It won't make a lot of sense now. I promise I will explain it all later. For now, just note that little number at the bottom, plus 7.6824583 minutes. That will be my gift to you if I am successful. Now, you have a secret mission too. This is your secret mission. You have to figure out how you want to spend these 7.5 bonus minutes today. And I want you to do something unusual with them because these are bonus minutes. And you weren't going to have them anyway, so I don't want you to spend them sending text messages or anything like that. Think of something creative. Now, knowing that I'm a game designer, you might have an idea of what I would tell you to do with these minutes. You might be thinking to yourself, she's going to tell us to spend them playing games. Now, this is a totally reasonable assumption. I have made quite a habit of encouraging people to spend more time playing games. In a TED Talk I gave, I kind of famously proclaimed that we should spend 21 billion hours a week playing games. We're only up to 7 billion hours a week now, to kind of put that in perspective. And 21 billion hours is a lot of time, admittedly. It's so much time, in fact, that in the past few years, the #1 unsolicited comment that I have heard from strangers all over the world every single day is this: Jane, games are great and all, but on your deathbed, are you really going to wish you spent more time playing Angry Birds? I hear this all the time. This idea is so pervasive that games are a waste of time that we will later regret. Now, I want to take this question seriously. I mean, just to give you an example, this guy, this cab driver, earlier this year, I was on my way to a conference in Austin, and the driver's like, oh, what are you here for? I'm here to give a talk about games. He stops the cab, he turns around and says to me, and I quote, "I hate games, waste of life. Imagine getting to the end of your life and regretting all that time." So he literally said that. I was so stunned because I was just about to tell people that I hear this all the time that I took a picture of him to prove that it actually happened, which is why I have a photo of my cab driver. Okay, so let's take this question seriously because it's on everyone's minds. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. When we are on our deathbeds, will we regret all these hours that we spent playing games? Now, this may surprise you, but it turns out there's actually some research on this question. Hospice workers, the people who take care of us at the end of our lives, recently issued a report on the most frequently expressed regrets that people have when they are literally on their deathbeds. And that's actually what I want to share with you this morning, the top 5 regrets of the dying. #1, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. #2, I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. #3, I wish I'd let myself be happier. Number 4, I wish I'd had the courage to express my true self. And number 5, I wish I'd lived a life true to my dreams instead of what others expected of me. Okay, now as far as I know, no one told the hospice workers, I wish I'd spent more time playing games, fair enough. But when I hear these top 5 regrets, I can't help but hear 5 deep human cravings that games can actually help us fulfill. For example, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. For many people, that means I wish I'd spent more time with my family, with my kids when they were growing up. Well, we know from research at Brigham Young University's School of Family Life that playing games together as a family has tremendous benefits. The research shows that parents who spend more time playing video games with their kids have much stronger real-life relationships with them. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Okay, well, hundreds of millions of people every day use social network games to stay in touch with real-life friends and family. We know from recent research at Michigan State University that these games have the ability to serve as powerful relationship management tools. Now, what that means is that these games help us stay actively in touch with people in our extended social network that we would otherwise grow distant from or lose touch with if we weren't playing games together. I wish I'd let myself be happier. Now here, I can't help but think of the groundbreaking clinical trials that have recently been conducted at East Carolina University, documenting that online casual games outperform pharmaceuticals for treating clinical anxiety and depression. So this is true. 30 minutes of online gaming a day led to significant changes in mood, positive changes, and increased happiness. I wish I'd had the courage to express my true self. Right, avatars, of course, are a way to express our true selves, maybe our most heroic or idealized version of who we could become. This is a portrait of a gamer and his avatar from a series called Alter Ego, beautiful portrait series. And one thing that I'm really interested in is research that's been happening at Stanford University for years now, documenting how playing a game with an idealized avatar changes how we think and act in real life, specifically making us more confident, more ambitious, and more committed to our real-life goals. I wish I'd led a life true to my dreams and not what others expected of me. Okay, this one I've left a question mark, a Super Mario question mark, because I'm not sure games are doing this yet. We usually think of games as being escapist, sort of ignoring our real lives, not helping us pursue a real-life dream. So I'm not sure where the research is on this yet. We'll come back to it. Now, maybe by now you've started to wonder, why is a game designer talking to us about deathbed regrets? I mean, that's a fair point. I have not been on my deathbed yet, and I haven't volunteered in a hospice. But recently, I did have the opportunity to spend 3 months in bed wanting to die, actually really wanting to die. And I'd like to tell you that story. So it started when I hit my head in a routine household accident. I got a concussion, but the concussion didn't heal properly. And after 30 days, I was left still concussed. I had nonstop symptoms like headaches, nausea, vertigo, mental fog, memory loss. And my doctor told me at the time that the #1 thing that I could do to heal my brain was to rest it. So I had to avoid things that triggered my symptoms. Now, for me, that meant no reading, no writing, no video games, no work or email, no running, no alcohol, no caffeine. In other words, and I think you know where this is going, no reason to live. Which, of course, is meant to be a joke, but in all seriousness, suicidal ideation is extremely common with traumatic brain injuries. It happens to 1 in 3, and it happened to me. My brain started telling me, Jane, you want to die. It said, you're never going to get better. It said, the pain will never end. And these voices became so persistent and so persuasive that I legitimately feared for my life. So at that point, it was on day 34 after the concussion, I said to myself, and I will never forget this moment, Jane, I think you are either going to kill yourself or you are going to turn this into a game. Now, why a game? Well, I knew from more than a decade of researching the psychology of games that when we play a good game, we tackle problems with more creativity, with more determination, and we're more likely to reach out to others for help. And I really wanted to bring those gamer traits to my real-life problem. So I created a game called Jane the Concussion Slayer, inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The first thing I did as Jane the Concussion Slayer, which became my new secret identity, was I called up my twin sister, Kelly. She teaches psychology at Stanford. And I said to her, Kelly, I'm playing a game to heal my brain, and I want you to play the game with me. This was an easier way to ask for help. And she became my first ally in the game. My husband joined next, so did a few friends. And together with my allies, I identified and battled the bad guys. Now, these were anything that could trigger my symptoms and therefore slow down the healing process. So things like bright lights and crowded spaces. And then we also collected and activated power-ups. So these were things I could do on even my worst day to feel a little bit happy or a little bit productive. Things like cuddling my dog for 10 minutes or walking around the block just once. Okay, so the game was that simple. Adopt a secret identity, recruit your allies, battle the bad guys, activate power-ups. But even with a game that simple, within just a few days, that dark fog of anxiety and depression started to lift. And it felt like a miracle. Now, it was not a miracle cure for the cognitive effects or the pain. I mean, that lasted for more than a year, and it was the hardest year of my life by far. But even when I still had the symptoms, even while I was still in the pain, I stopped suffering. That was good. Now, what happened with the game next was a little surprising. I actually put up a video online and put some rules up online telling other people how to play. But not everybody has a concussion, or not everybody wants to be a slayer. So I renamed the game Super Better and suggested you could get super better from anything that you wanted. And I started to hear from people all over the world who were recruiting their own allies and getting super better. And they were tackling challenges like chronic pain and cancer, depression and anxiety, Crohn's disease, even terminal illnesses like ALS. And I could tell from their messages and their blog posts and their videos that the game seemed to be helping them in the same ways that it helped me. They talked about feeling stronger and braver. They talked about feeling better understood by their friends and family. And they even talked about just being happier day to day, even though they were in pain or even though they were tackling the toughest challenge of their lives. Now, at the time, I'm thinking, this seems unbelievable. I mean, this is a silly, trivial game. If it hadn't worked for me, I wouldn't have believed that it was possible. But I wanted to understand why it was working. And it turns out there's some research here, too. Some people get stronger and happier after a traumatic event, like an illness or injury. Researchers call this post-traumatic growth. And this is not something we usually hear about, right? We usually hear about post-traumatic stress disorder. But the scientists now know that suffering a traumatic event doesn't doom us to suffer indefinitely. Instead, we can use it as a springboard to unleash our best qualities and to lead happier lives. And this game was helping us experience post-traumatic growth. So here are the top 5 things that people with post-traumatic growth usually say. My priorities have changed. I'm not afraid to do what makes me happy. I feel closer to my friends and family. I understand myself better. I know who I really am now. I have a new sense of meaning and purpose. I'm better able to focus on my goals and dreams. Now, does this sound familiar to you? Okay, it should, because the top 5 traits of post-traumatic growth are essentially the exact opposite of the top 5 regrets of the dying. So this is interesting, right? It seems that somehow a traumatic event can unleash our ability to lead a life truer to our dreams. But how does it work? How do you get from trauma to growth? Or better yet, is there any way to get all the benefits of post-traumatic growth without the trauma, I mean, like without having to hit your head in the first place, because that would be much better. So I wanted to understand, I devoured the scientific literature, and here's what I learned. There are actually 4 types of strength or resilience that you can build up that will contribute to post-traumatic growth. And there are actually an entire range of scientifically validated activities that you can do every single day to build up these 4 strengths without the trauma. And I could tell you what these strengths are, and I will tell you what they are, but I'd rather you experience them firsthand. I'd rather you start to build them up for yourself. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a quick game together. We're going to do the first 4 quests of Super Better, and this is where you will earn those 7.5 minutes of bonus life that I promised you, okay? So I'm going to give you your 4 quests, and here we go. This is your first quest. I want you to pick one of these and do it right now. I want you to stand up and take 3 steps, or make your hands into fists, raise them over your head as high as you can for 5 seconds. Go. Doing both of them, I love it. Extra points for you. Awesome. Good job. Okay, so that is worth +1 physical resilience, which means that your body can withstand more stress and heal itself faster. And the #1 thing we know from the scientific literature about building physical resilience is that you can't sit still. So every single second that you are not sitting still, you're actively improving the health of your heart, your brains, and your lungs. I want to encourage you to do this periodically throughout the rest of the UP experience. It will look like you're cheering for the speakers. They will love you, so keep it up. All right, quest #2, pick one. I want you to snap your fingers exactly 50 times or count backwards out loud from 100 by 7, 193, all the way down to 0. Go. Don't give up. Okay, good. So that's worth +1 mental resilience, which means you have more mental focus, more determination, and willpower. And we know from the research that willpower is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. And it turns out that tackling a tiny task without giving up, even one as absurd as snapping your fingers 50 times or counting backwards from 100 by 7, actually strengthens this muscle so that you can use it for a more important challenge later. So keep it up. All right, task #3. If you're inside, find a window and look out of it. If you're outside, find a window and look in. You can do that later. Or do a quick YouTube or Google image search for baby, your favorite animal. Okay, let's see what we can do magically. Let's take a look. Baby dolphin and baby llamas. Everybody look. Feel that? Okay, let's do one more. Okay, you asked for it. Baby elephant. There it is. It's smiling. Okay, everybody feel that. That is worth +1 emotional resilience, which means you have the power to provoke positive emotions when you need them most. One of my favorite secrets that I learned from the literature of resilience is that if you can manage to achieve 3 positive emotions for every 1 negative emotion over the course of an hour, a day, or a week, it actually has dramatic impacts on your health and your success at work, because it gives you more energy, makes people like you more and want to help you. Now, I don't normally tell people this, but let's just geek out a little bit together. It turns out there's an upper limit on this ratio. You have to get to at least 3-to-1. But if you get to 12-to-1 or higher, it all collapses on itself and you lose the benefits. And the reason is, and this is actually stated in the scientific literature, is that other people start to hate you. So keep it in the safe range, 3-to-1, 12-to-1. Okay, final Super Better quest. I want you to pick one, do it right now. Shake someone's hand for 6 seconds, full 6 seconds, or send someone a quick thank you by text, email, Facebook, or Twitter. If you're really good, you might be able to do both at the same time. One with that, and you're still doing that. I like it, good. More physical resilience. Okay, great. So that's worth +1 social resilience, which means you draw strength from your friends, your family, your neighbors, people around you. And it turns out that 2 really good ways to boost social resilience are gratitude, thank someone every day, or touch. And here's another little secret for you. Holding someone else's hand for 6 seconds boosts the oxytocin in your bloodstream, which is the trust hormone, the love hormone. So you guys are all now biochemically primed to like and want to help each other. That will last through the next break, so take advantage of the networking opportunities.